Morning traders, Paul with GammaEdge here. Today is Thursday, the 19th of May. Let's get started. Go ahead, hit pause on your players, please. Read this. It's important to you. It's important to us. As expected, we're seeing across the major indices and the ETFs that track them a significant increase in net negative gamma and a corresponding decrease in positive gamma. This occurs, one, because prices move down aggressively and gamma is a sensitive phenomena to spot price, but two, we actually saw a lot of puts being added and in some instances calls being closed. So we see this on the SPX, the SPY, the Qs, and the IWM. Very negative condition overall, as you can tell. Taking a look at the near-term expiries, key takeaways here is that we've switched from yesterday. We've got major net negative expiries coming off on the 0 and 1 DTEs. So we think that is very important here. You can see the black dots of where they lie in respect to the major gamma levels. Why that's important is that as we progress left, we will have more and more of those folks will be in the money, and there could be monetization events that could take place there. Now, as we've seen, market sentiment can absolutely swamp the boat here, and the monetization may not push us upward, but just be aware that the further left we go, the more the inclination to protect profits will occur. Remember though, the SPX is cash settled. There is no pressure there per se, but the SPY, the Qs, and the IWM are all equity settled. And generally, most people do not like to hold short shares because of just the capital that's required in the leverage there. Taking a look at gamma history, note that we had significant down days in the SPY, the Qs, and the IWM. We are below POI in the SPY again. Same thing in the Qs, and you can see in the IWM we're holding fairly steady. A couple of key things to look at here. We did see some monetization occur within the SPY yesterday, and typically we think this drop here does anticipate some short-term price movement with the shorter dated options. So be aware of that this we do think this anticipates a further move south, especially with POI being up here at this level. We could see some monetization. Remember that monetization can reverse us. Over here on the Qs, a slightly different picture. We had a rise in the 0. Typically when that occurs, calls are being added or puts are being closed on a short-term perspective. We actually think we had some monetization go on yesterday, which is causing the 0 GEX to go up a fairly significant amount. Note we are below POI, and when we're below POI, that condition typically does not last longer than 5 days. Either POI will drop or price will advance higher, and so we'll have to wait and see what happens here. You can see the same type of condition over here in IWM. The key over here in IWM minus GEX has dropped. This and the lack of a change in the upper structure here basically suggests that we're not seeing anybody anticipating a major move upward in IWM. But also we're not seeing a major move downward. POI is much lower, minus GEX is much lower, and as a result of that, IWM probably is just going to drift aimlessly. Taking a look at the flow summaries, we had puts being added on a short-term basis to the SPY, on a short-term basis for the Qs, the same thing, and at the end of the day, same thing on IWM. On a longer-term basis, beyond 30 days, we actually had some calls being added, not aggressively, but enough to pay attention to. We actually had a lot of puts being closed that are out further in time, and this is net bullish for the longer term on the SPY. The Qs, not the same thing. We actually saw a significant addition of long-term puts being added, again, beyond 30 days, although we did see some calls being added to net. The dominance goes here to the puts, therefore we're going to call this bearish over the longer term. IWM, again, not really a lot to say here. The magnitudes are not very large. Overall, I would say net bearish, but it's been very weak and just in a downtrend in general. The market model, across the top here, the 52-week new high, new lows, you can see actually we did not get a lot of participation in the stocks. It was concentrated purely to the SPX and the indices coming down. So internally we had a rotation. We did not have broad participation. We think that's important. This actually suggests, on a contrarian viewpoint, that we could be poised for some sort of reversal, as we did not get broad sell-off, no real capitulation here. So short term, we could see a little more downside, but then move to the upside, because it looks like the broader market has already participated and been hammered pretty tightly there. So let's watch that. Risk off by the institutions, no panic into the close. The cumulative tick moving averages are still in a long-term downtrend. If we saw a continuation down this morning and then reversal up, that would be a good thing. So we'll be watching today to see what happens. The SPX, basically we've got an overhead level that's developing between the 4100 and 4150. We're going to want to watch that. We've had some things move down into this area, which anticipates a move upward. We've not had a lot drop down here, although the negative GEX level did come down from 4100 down here to 3900. We're going to open up in this area below 3900 today. It'll be very interesting to see if we get any monetization, which forces price up. The 0 DTE, fairly weak. It's negative. The levels are not overly significant. Note the 4,000 level here. Note the top of the negative gamma band here, right here at 39.45, 39.50. That's pretty key. We're going to open somewhere in this zone. If we get trapped under 3,900, you can see where we could play. It could be fairly volatile today on the 0 DTE basis. But if we start pushing upward, we've got these transition areas here. I don't think we're going to go much higher than 4,000. And the reason for that is this. When you take a look at where 4,000 sits and where we sit, there's a lot of red above us. And that means, all things equal, that we've got a lot of calls that have to be put up here and a lot of puts that have to be monetized. So we saw a lot of addition yesterday, a lot of negative gamma being added to the complex, also seeing short-term positive gamma being removed from the complex. You can see the overall magnitudes are extremely low, and that's partly because we moved down in price so much, and gamma is sensitive to price, but it's also because these were closed. There were a lot of things that were closed in the time frame that they were expected to move up, and as a result, we're just heavily imbalanced to the negative gamma side. The GEXpiration profile, we've added a significant amount of downside. Now, this can become fuel into next week and beyond, so we'll want to watch what happens. We are getting a growth after Memorial Day. We continue to add to these levels out here. You can see this here, so it'll be very interesting to see how this comes off to today and tomorrow. Today is the last trading day for the AM settled SPX, and as a result of that, how we rebuild that and how they roll those numbers out will be very, very important. When we take a look at the combo structure, side by side here, on the left hand side is all expiries. On the right hand side, I've taken off the 2 expiries for today and tomorrow, and you can see structurally there's not a lot of change. We've got call open interest, put open interest at the same levels here. You can see the yellow lines where we closed last night, and you can see the relative magnitudes are more or less the same all the way on down. One thing to key your eye on, we're at 3,900 as the net negative gamma level right now, and after tomorrow's expiries, 3,700 is the projected range. What we're looking for, and will be key, is if we start seeing puts being added to this particular area, which would prevent this from dropping. So the estimate for tomorrow close of business is that this is going to drop down. When we see negative GEX fall away from price or fall away from the structure, typically that says a near-term bottom or short-term bottom is in, and we potentially could see a push higher. We'll have to wait and see, of course, but that can be negated if market sentiment continues to add puts. We would see this basically not occur into the weekend, and that would suggest continued downside movement as people anticipated capturing price as it fell through their puts. So the takeaway for today, A little wordy, but let me go through this. The wing gamma charts show an obvious aggressive addition of negative gamma. That's pretty apparent from what we saw yesterday. That's bearishness in the markets. We intend to stay short in the short term until we get some sort of reversal indications. We're not seeing that right now, so we're going to want to pay attention to that. We think there's an overabundance of negative gamma in the structures. Everybody's on one side of the ship, and we think because of that we could see some monetization. Nearly 50% of that vaporizes here in the next 2 days, and that's a big deal of that gamma coming off the table. In the SPX, we have 30% of it going away between now and tomorrow night, so that's significant. We think the loss of that 3850 in the SPX opens the door to 3800, if not further below. Minus GEX, negative GEX is projected to fall, as I was just saying, from 39 to 3700. We're going to want to watch that. And then the market model is bearish, so we're continuing to play the bounces to the downside. And of course, not a recommendation, use paper money, etc. Teach yourself, but nevertheless, this is how we're approaching the markets for today. So I hope you found this useful. If so, come join us at GammaEdge.us. That'll take you to a sign-up page where you can get into our Discord. 14-day free trial, all the tools turned on, great group of traders, very active voice channel, a lot of charting tools, could be worth your while. Follow us on Twitter at GammaEdges with an S, and of course here on YouTube. If you like today's content, hit that like button, please, and then subscribe so you get notified the next time we post something. So with that, I bid you farewell. Hope to see you in the Discord, and good luck trading today and tomorrow. Take care.